Hey everybody, what's going on? It's been a little while, but I really wanted to get a video on this guitar before I eventually parted ways with it. This is a replica of Tom DeLonge's Obvious Jazzmaster. I say obvious because, for those who may not know, Obvious was a song that Blink did in 2003 that was in a baritone tuning, more or less baritone. His lower stuff was usually in either D standard or C sharp standard, and this is tuned to C sharp standard. And this specific guitar was used, late 2003 up to like 2005 or so, before Blink eventually, had a hiatus or whatever. I don't believe this came out on tour after that. But this was the last version of Tom's Fender designs, basically. And from what I believe, from all the research that I've done, is I don't believe Tom ever asked for a Jazzmaster. Tom's personal guitar builder at Fender, his name is Alex, he was very passionate about this design, and he had done this kind of design for a few different people. Steve Klein from New Found Glory had a bunch that were just like this, not baritone and slightly different. I know Randy from Finch had a similar setup. I don't know if Alex made those guitars or not, but it eventually turned into the Jim Root signature guitar, with some slight modifications. But anyway, I believe what happened was Alex put something together for Tom and said, hey, I think you might like this, give it a shot. And that kind of became the later Fender era for Tom. He was using Gibsons at this time, but this was like the last Fender he was actually using. So the spec on this, basically, it's a Warmoth body. I believe this is an alpine white finish. There are pictures of Tom's out there that do look a bit more yellowed, or a bit more cream color. So it's hard to say exactly what color it is. It could be Olympic white that just kind of aged after a little while. When he was first starting to use this, it was very bright white, so it's possible that it just kind of aged over time. So I'm not 100% sure, but this is alpine white, about as white as you can get for a Fender color anyway. But I found it secondhand, actually, so realistically I would have chosen Olympic white or maybe even vintage white if I was going for something a little bit more yellowed, but I still think it came out really well. Just a Fender hardtail bridge, a Invader by Seymour Duncan pickup. This is the bridge version, and I've had a lot of people tell me, I don't think Tom used an Invader in that guitar, but I really don't believe that to be the case. I've done a lot of research on the topic, and I have no real reason to believe that it was anything other than an Invader. And based on, everything that I've used with this guitar, it sounds exactly like the record. Some people think that, maybe Tom used a JB or something similar to that, and that just has a completely different tone. And frankly, Alex just knew what Tom liked. He liked the Invader, and that's what he used. The only reason that Tom switched to the Dirty Fingers when he went to Gibson is because Gibson wanted him using a Gibson pickup. He probably would have kept using an Invader, if he had the chance. So I believe full-heartedly that the Invader is what is in Tom's original Subsonic, but I don't know. We may never know, for sure. So yeah, anyway, to continue, this is a custom pickguard. I had my buddy at Healy Guitars make me this. This is the proper route for this guitar, basically, and it's something that you're either going to have to get handmade or have somebody, get you a template or something, because there really is, there's something similar you can get from Warmoth, but it's not quite the same. The route kind of cuts across over here, so this part's left open and this part doesn't hug quite as well down there, and it really is a subtle thing, but it really it really looks a lot nicer like this, in my opinion. Onto the neck. This is an actual Fender Subsonic neck. You can get some baritone conversion necks through Warmouth, or I know All Parts makes a neck similar to this that you can put together, but this is the real one. I got this off a guitar last year, and honestly I was just looking for something to do with this neck because I just haven't really fallen in love with the Subsonics. I mean, I love, you know, the lore of them, but actually playing them is just not quite as comfortable for me as a standard scale, because a Subsonic is, I believe, roughly 27 and a half inches. I could find out for sure in a second. Basically, to find out the scale length, you take the length from the nut to the 12th fret and then you double it. So I don't know, that's about 13 and a half. Yeah, it's like 13 and a half on the dot. So that would be 27. So what's cool about a Subsonic neck is you can, if you got one, you know, somehow, I know Fender's starting to mass produce them again, but unfortunately not with rosewood. You can put them on, you know, any 25 and a half inch scale ready body, and it'll intonate properly, it'll work properly. As you know, it's meant for B standard tuning, but you know, C sharp works just as fine. You know, I'm not going to get into the details of that, but it works and it sounds great, plays great, intonates fine. I have Fender locking tuners on here. Tom always used this sort of roller style string tree on his guitars. He always liked those, and it is kind of hard to see, but if you look in there, whoever had this neck before me did have a second string tree drilled and put in there. I had it filled recently. It doesn't look perfect, but you know, it's a lot better than it was. And having two string trees on there just doesn't look right. It always bothered me, and I know for a fact I've never seen a stock, or I've never seen any Subsonic neck with two string trees on it. I just never have. So I don't believe that to be proper. It is currently strung with Ernie Ball not even slinkies, which I believe are 12 to 56. And I have every reason to believe that Tom used skinny top heavy bottoms even on his Subsonics, which is definitely doable. Those are 10 to 52. They're definitely a lot looser strings and a bit slinkier, but I preferred going up a gauge. It just feels a lot better. You know, it feels more meant for this tuning and this scale length. It really just feels a lot better. I mean, whoever ends up with this is welcome to put whatever strings they want on it, but the nut is cut for that that gauge. Like I said, Fender is re-releasing the Subsonic neck design. Fender's actually been selling a lot of just like parts the last couple years, which is great. You know, it's awesome to get official parts, but from what I've seen, it looks like they don't actually say Subsonic on them. The ones that I've seen still say, you know, Fender Stratocaster or Fender Telecaster, depending on the neck shape that you get. So it would be, in my opinion, kind of easy to mistake, you know, a Subsonic neck for maybe a regular neck. I mean, most of them will have, at least the ones that I've seen, will have 22 frets with no overhang. So that's a bit of a way you can tell that it's a bit different, because, you know, if you're having a 22 fret neck from Fender, then you know, on a standard scale, then it's going to have that overhang just based on the way that the frets are positioned. But yeah, you know, it's an awesome guitar. I'm definitely happy I did it. You know, I had built a couple similar guitars like this in the past, you know, quite a few years ago, and none of them were really this close to Tom's. In my opinion, like I said, other than the slight difference in the color, this is about as close as you can get. I mean, Fender Subsonic necks, other than, you know, the ones that they're reissuing, like I said, without rosewood, Those don't come along very often. You have to get really lucky, or you have to buy a Subsonic Strat, you know, secondhand, and those retail for, you know, $2,000 usually on Reverb or something. Maybe a little less if you're lucky. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it's tough to find, you know, a pickguard just like the one that Tom would use. That's why I had it handmade. My guy Trevor is awesome. He does exactly what I need, and yeah, it's got the volume knob in just the right placement because it's, you know, parallel with the pickup. The other ones that I've had, you know, on my other Jazzmasters, I prefer it down here, but that's the way Tom always had it. So be sure to check out the cover of Obvious that I did, and let me know what you think. This will probably end up being sold privately. I don't know if I'll end up having it on my Reverb page or not. Like I said, probably not. I already have a few offers already, so we'll see what happens. But I'm definitely happy to finally check this one off, you know, properly. Like I said, you know, the ones that I did in the past were pretty close, but not quite the same. And this is the only baritone version that I actually did, so I think it's very cool. So let me know what you think. I'm going to do some tones and stuff so you can get an idea what it sounds like, and I'll see you later. And for those wondering about the telly back there, I will do a video on that fairly soon. I'm just waiting for a couple more parts to come in. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.